NFL Week 17. Well, it started on Christmas. We had another bleep show on Thursday night last night. We got 3 games tomorrow, a Sunday slate, a Monday night game, and oh yeah, there's a ton of coaching news as well. Cole Thompson joins us. It's the Jake Asman Football Show. I mean, we got a lot to talk about, and guess what? The show starts right now.
Oh yeah, it's time for the Jake Asman Football Show, brought to you by BetUS, expert betting odds and fantasy stats. So let's get into some NFL football, brought to you by our friends at BetUS. So get your questions ready. Here's your host, Jake Asman.
Happy Friday, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all the Jake Asman Football Show listeners. Before we bring on Cole, reminder, we're presented by our friends at BetUS. If you plan to bet on any of the football this weekend, do it with BetUS. New customers, a 150% sign-up bonus with that first deposit, and then 125% bonus on your second and third deposits. The slate of bowl games, NFL games, football galore, plus they have every sport you can imagine. Check it out. BetUS, they are my go-to sports book, and they should be yours as well. Joining us right now, as he does every Friday at this time, is our dear friend Cole Thompson down in Houston. Hello, Cole. Merry Christmas, and lucky you got to watch Beyonce in person on Christmas, because other than that game stunk.
God bless. Just can we fast forward to the end of the season? Like, my God, like it can't get much worse. If this is going to be week 17, then I can't do the rest of the week. We've had 3 stinkers, 3 snooze fests, and more importantly, we have seen the absolute reality that the Houston Texans were always overrated and the Chicago Bears were always overrated. So congratulations. If that's what we get moving forward, I'm going to be a Grinch this holiday season because I can't stomach it. We got 3 games tomorrow. Is there anyone that's even worth talking about? Like, my goodness, watch them all be 9-6 finishes.
Well, I talked about this on the radio show I do on ESPN New York. I talked about this morning. I think the NFL has an oversaturation. I can never say this word, oversaturation problem.
Try it 3 times. There you go. Good job.
So what I mean by that is this. There's quite simply just not enough good teams for the amount of standalone games we now have. When you're giving Netflix 2 games, in addition to Amazon having to have a Thursday night game, NFL Network has 3 Saturday games tomorrow. Fox and CBS have their usual Sunday games. You're trying to find them good games. I mean, the schedule is so weak this week that guess what game Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are doing for CBS?
I'm guessing they're doing the Buffalo Jets game.
They're doing the 4-11 Jets as 9.5-point underdogs against the Bills. That's the A game for CBS because the rest of the schedule, it stinks. You have a Sunday night game for NBC, Monday night, ESPN, Buck and Aikman need a game. You have too many mouths to feed and not enough good teams. So we're going to keep watching. I mean, the ratings for Christmas were massive. 24, 25 million people watched these 2 games, way more than basketball. But like, the NFL doesn't have enough good teams. It's a real problem with the league right now.
That's the problem, Jake, is you heard LeBron James say, I love the NFL, but Christmas is made for the NBA. Then be better at the NBA. Let's be real for a minute, because the NFL reigns supreme. Netflix, the streaming service, had more views than 2 NBA games. And that's saying a lot when it's Lamar Jackson boot scooting and boogieing like Brooks and Dunn down at NRG Stadium against a Texans defense that gave up 423 yards. That's saying a lot for a Kansas City Chiefs team that really has nothing to play for, since as long as Buffalo doesn't win its last 2 games, they would have gotten the number 1 seed, yet they catapulted themselves to dominance over an overrated Steelers team. And the problem is that you know that we're going to continue to funnel in the views for the NFL. So why change it? Why? Jake, do you know that if everything goes the way that it's supposed to, based off of betting odds, the top 10 picks will combine this year for 36 wins total? The 2025 NFL Draft's top 10 picks will combine for 36 wins. Last season, the 4-13 Washington Commanders got the number 2 overall pick. A 4-13 team is projected to pick 9th or 10th this year. There's not that many good teams in the league. There is a clear separation between who is actually good, who is mid, and who is gosh darn awful. And unfortunately, because the way the schedule pans out, we have several of those games where a good team matches up against an inferior team, and we get it on primetime television, which again, it hurts the product, it hurts the fandom, it makes people complain nonstop throughout the day. But again, Are we changing? Are ratings going down? No. So
No.
why are they going to do any difference? It's a massive travesty in the NFL that we're getting these games. And then the worst part is that the games that were supposed to be pretty good, a Texans team that's going to finish with potentially 10 wins against an MVP caliber quarterback in Lamar Jackson, that stunk. Kansas City was supposed to play against a really ferocious defense in Pittsburgh. That stunk. And now we're talking about potentially a mid-off between the Cincinnati Bengals that has an elite offense, but no defense whatsoever, and then Bo Nix doing check down after check down with a solid defense from Denver for a game that probably is going to decide a playoff spot between one of these two. And that's all we get. And then we get to go ahead and find out storylines. Will Los Angeles find a way to mess it up at the 1-yard line? What's going to happen with Arizona? Could they pull off the upset to put Sean McVay back on the hot seat of retirement conversation? What are we doing here? That's the problem with the NFL. But until we start seeing the ratings go down, they're going to continue to do this shit nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to stop, but you do wonder at what point would there ever be a drop-off? It doesn't feel like it yet, but, I mean, sometimes too much is too much, and there's just not enough good teams, especially this year. I mean, look at the top 10. Look at the amount of 4-win teams. Like the Jets, I root for them, unfortunately. They're a 4-win team that's picking 9th right now. I mean, in other years, 4 wins would get you in the top 5. They're picking 9th because of how many other bad teams there are that are somehow worse. I mean, I have to cover the Giants and watch them. I mean, they're one of the most disgraceful teams I've ever watched. They're not competitive in any of their games for the most part this year. There's just a ton of bad football being played, and that includes Thursday night football call. And last night, we had the second game this year that featured not one team, either team in the game, scoring a touchdown. So, look, the NFL is never going to get rid of Thursday night football. It makes a ton of money. But I do feel like a game last night is an example of, well, maybe that game should have been played on Saturday. And if you're already having Christmas Day games on Wednesday, maybe we skip Thursday night football this week, playing on Saturday instead. But money reigns supreme. And then people are going to say, why didn't they flex out of Seattle and Chicago? The Bears are terrible. You can't flex any of these games because there's too many network mouths you have to feed. There's not enough good teams to flex matchups into. That's the biggest issue.
Well, also with Thursday night football, you can't flex. It's one of the very few that is.
No, you can flex. You can flex. You just need advance notice. Yeah, they changed it starting this year.
Okay, well, before you couldn't flex it, so you were stuck having to play that game regardless of what was the outcome. Here's the problem, Jake. I understand when we talk about Chicago. What was the deal with Seattle? Seattle's in the hunt for a playoff spot in the NFC West Division title. They have an offense that features potentially 2 1,000-yard receivers, including a breakout dude in Jaspin Najigba. And I completely understand that Kenneth Walker being put on the IR hurt their rushing attack, but it wasn't like he was fully healthy going into this game. It was just bad play calling, bad execution by offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, the inconsistencies of the passing attack by Geno Smith, and we're supposed to believe that one of these teams is going to win the NFC and host a playoff game. It's just like the Houston Texans being able to host a playoff game. What are we doing here? Chicago is a different story. Number one, we all jumped the gun when it came to a man-made ready system for Caleb Williams to flourish in 2024. We all jumped the gun on that one because the offensive line is a turnstile of misery. If you go look up the offensive linemen from last night, I get it. Darnell Wright's a starter. The other 4 dudes are meant to be backups or practice squad players at best. Caleb Williams was sacked 7 times for 23 yards of a loss. They weren't able to run the football. Why weren't they able to run the football? Because they don't have the 5 men up front being able to block the defensive line. The pass communication has been dreadful at best. I like Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze is going to be a standout wide receiver in the NFL, but it's very clear that they probably should have targeted whether it be an offensive tackle or a defensive lineman to bolster up their front 7 or their front 5 to better Caleb Williams' stance. And more importantly, the defense was terrible on 3rd down. Like, Chicago was a team that we all thought, okay, well, they have the right pieces. Ryan Poles has brought in the right names. He's made some good moves in free agency. He went and got DJ Moore and still landed the 1st overall pick. He went out and he got Montez Sweat and signed to a 4-year deal. And yet here we are still looking at this team that is now on a 9-game losing streak and can't even find its way into the end zone against a defense that was giving them opportunities after opportunities last night. It just is bad football all the way around. I get it. We're at the season's end. There's no reason to be complaining because if we still get football on our television screens, look at the ratings. We're not stopping watching, but let's just call a spade, man. Neither one of these teams are giving us a performance worth talking about. And the reason we're griping is because of we expect when you're a primetime standalone stage game to deliver at least a little bit. The only thing that you delivered was a dud a day after 2 duds were on television.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, there aren't very many coaches. I think Jeff Ulbrich is better, but Thomas Brown, my God, the way that he completely bungled the end of the game last night, the interim coach of the Bears with the clock management, that was horrendous. That was a terrible, terrible sequence of events. If you thought Eberflus on Thanksgiving, speaking of standalone games, was bad, that got him fired the next day. Oh my God, was that horrendous last night? And let's talk more about the Bears. I mean, Seattle, they are what they are. They need some help to get into the playoffs. They're 9-7, but Chicago was supposed to be, finally headed in the right direction with Caleb here and the talent around them. Now they need a coach. You got Pete Carroll who's reaching out, expressing interest in the job. It feels like Ben Johnson would make the most sense for Chicago if they want to get the offensive guru to fix Caleb Williams. But I don't know if that's necessarily the right move, Cole. I feel like if you're the Bears, you don't just hire the offensive guy and call it a day. You do a real search and try and find the best leader that can fix that culture, hold Caleb accountable, teach him. Yeah, the OC is going to be important, but you can't sit here and tell me that the Bears should just dismiss Pete Carroll altogether. Like, Pete Carroll is a winner. He has developed quarterbacks before. He's hired a good coaching staff. So if Pete Carroll wants to talk to you about that job, I'm at least hearing him out. What are your thoughts on the Bears opening?
You're saying hear out Pete Carroll. No. Sorry, just no. I'm not doing that.
Stop being an ageist.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing it because I'm not going to be an ageist. What I'm going to say is that you hire a defensive-minded coach. You hire somebody with a background that can actually invoke fear in your own players, and you make sure that Mike Vrabel turns you down. That's the first phone call I'm making.
No,
I'm making.
Vrabel's going to the Jets, Dan.
Okay, yes, well, I know you want him on the Jets, but let's just talk about this for a second.
No, Vrabel would be a great pick for Chicago.
He would be fantastic because you want to know why? The man has won with less talent every single year when he was in Tennessee. He finished during his 6-year run with a 54-45 record. They had one losing season where they finished in 4th place. Every other year, he delivered when he had a quality quarterback or at least a quality standpoint defensively. They have the defensive talent. Tyreek Stevenson is a fine cornerback number 2. Jalen Johnson is a good number 1 corner. He's absolutely one of the top 10 cornerbacks in the NFL. I think they have a decent linebacking core and they have an okay front 7. You will be able to get better results with them because of I love what I'm seeing from a defense in the past underneath Tennessee. It's the fact of the matter that you're going to watch as Caleb Williams, who slumps on over after a bad play design and then is moping on the sidelines, get grabbed in the face mask by his head coach and go, if I ever see you do that shit again, go ahead and pack your bags. I'll trade you for a 6th-round pick. I don't care about your attitude. And guess what? It carries on over into the locker room. It carries on over into the decision makings. It carries on over into the roster construction. Everyone agrees, hey, if Mike Vrabel's not happy, we're not happy. So why the hell, for 1 second, would I go in any other direction? I've heard a guy like Mike Vrabel scream at the media because losing effing sucks. You don't think that people in Chicago who only know misery and heartbreak are going to not want to hear that? Losing effing sucks? Come on, man. What are we doing here? As much as you would like it in New York, I think he's better suited for Chicago. They have the quarterback. They have some offensive pieces. They got to build up their offensive line. They have some defensive talent. And you've already seen Mike Vrabel work with less and get better results. In a division that feels winnable, the AFC East, I think that he'd be a great fit. In a division where he has to earn every single win and demand excellence in the NFC North, I think that he'd be an absolute stud in a top 5 coach in the NFL by the end of his 2nd term.
I like the idea. I'll tell you why I don't believe he's going to go there. He wants say in the GM, and I don't think he would want to work with Ryan Poles.
I think Ryan Poles is fired.
So, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. I think the reason why Vrabel, I think, makes sense to the Jets is they don't have a GM right now. And look, I don't like the guy who said this, but I'm going to take him at face value. Listen to this, and I'll give you my thoughts.
I talked to Mike Vrabel. Mike said, he said, I would take the Jets job. I just don't know who the GM would be. I'd have to like the GM.
So if you're the Jets, go get Mike Vrabel the GM he wants and call it a day. Like, to me, he's the most qualified candidate out there. You were just talking about his resume and what he could do. I think the Bears are going to end up with Ben Johnson. And I think Vrabel's going to go elsewhere because I think they're going to be so focused on trying to fix Caleb that I think, to your point, they might miss out on the better coach because we don't know what Ben Johnson is as a head coach. You're hiring him for a role he's never been in before.
Let me ask you something, Jake. Why are you as Chicago so excited about Ben Johnson? How many times have we seen in the past an offensive coordinator be souped up to be the next big-time name, to be a standout stud, to be a guy that knows all the X's and O's, he's able to work with the quarterback and get everything on the right track, and then they go 7-10, and then they go 7-10, and then they're fired midway through their third year? So I'm sorry. Do I want a proven winner in Chicago? A place that deserves to finally have actual expectations met and a criteria now with the quarterback that they believe can be the actual long-term solution? Or do I want a guy that is known for having great offensive execution and fun style of play calling and being able to mix some things up and get things excited? Like, what am I doing here? I want a coach that's going to tell my quarterback, sit down, shut up, run the damn play, and if you bitch, I'll find a guy that won't. I want that dude. Because that's the dude that's going to win me a Super Bowl. That's the dude that's going to put us in a prime position to actually be a competitor in the NFC. That's a dude that's going to put me inside a position to where we consistently are finishing with 10 plus wins. We are consistently finishing at the forefront of conversation in the NFC North, and we're beating the crap out of the Packers, which we never do. We're beating the crap out of the Vikings, which we haven't done in a while, and we're beating the crap out of the Detroit Lions, who, by the way, have that alpha dog shear in your mouth, piss on you, I don't give a crap about your feelings, dude, and Dan Campbell. Why do you think that they're so good? You need a coach like that in Chicago. And if you want Ben Johnson, that's great. Watch as your team still finishes 8-9, 9-8, and you're a first-round exit in the playoffs. But that's fine. Congratulations on that.
Damn, Cole going up and in.
I grew up in a Bears household. I know this team so much. Like I've watched my dad be so disappointed by these fans for years. It's disgusting. Because they messed up when they fired Lovey. They messed up all the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching live right now, hit the like button. It is the Jake Asman Football Show. Cole, your thoughts on some of the other rumblings out there? Aaron Glenn being connected to the Jets for obvious reasons. Also the Saints, where he coached before he, of course, went over with Dan Campbell to the Detroit Lions. It feels like the top candidates are some of the names we batted around for a couple of weeks already. Vrabel, Ben Johnson. I would throw Brian Flores' name in there. I think Liam Cohen, the Bucs offensive coordinator, is going to get some serious consideration from people. I think Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for Buffalo, is going to get some serious consideration from people. I mean, am I missing another obvious name here that you think is going to get a lot of consideration?
Not an obvious one, but I do think that Evio Urgero should be considered a dark horse candidate from the Carolina Panthers. He has been a really good find over the last two stops. When he was in Denver, he was able to turn the corner of that Broncos defense. He's really done a good job over the last several weeks, at least making it a competitive battle for the Carolina Panthers. I don't know if he's going to be a front runner for the job, but I at least would put him on the dark horse conversation. He is very well liked. He is very well put in a position to where people want to gravitate towards him. And he's a player's coach that people buy into. I think that has a big time selling point for any organization that wants some stability. And he also is a no nonsense guy. So that's something that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. As much as people want to blame and say, oh, a defensive coordinator should never become a head coach unless they have the right offensive minds, sometimes when you have a defensive coach, the no-nonsense attitude carries on over to the offensive execution. And it might be easier for you to run your defense a certain way when your offense can be just handled by one person, where instead of an offense coordinator, you're batting heads with the OC because if you're an offensive-minded head coach.
Cole, before we get to our picks, as we talk all things Week 17, big debate this week all around the world. Who's the NFL MVP this season? I believe it's Lamar Jackson. Your thoughts?
I believe it's Josh Allen. My thoughts.
Wow. Why Allen, not Lamar, when Lamar's got better numbers than Allen, and Lamar has gone out there and has a head-to-head win over Josh Allen when they played this year?
Okay. Because of wins matter, and we know that because of last year. I mean, Lamar, you just brought this up. Lamar has better numbers this year than in either of his MVP seasons. What happened in the two seasons that he won the MVP? The Baltimore Ravens were the top seed in the AFC.
Yeah, but the Bills won't be the top seed.
No, but at the same time, when you look at Josh Allen's numbers, the fact that he is able to beat the two number one seeds in the AFC and NFC and potentially ruin a record that was set in 1972 with the Miami Dolphins, that's going to be the case. The other thing that's really important here is to think of Josh Allen got the short end of the stick in the offseason. What was everyone talking about? Oh, no more Stephon Diggs. Watch as the real Josh Allen appears. Okay, well, the real Josh Allen appeared, and guess what happened? He absolutely dominated the competition. He has the most touchdowns in his career. He's going to finish with potentially the most touchdowns in his career. He has the highest completion percentage. His interception total went down. His pass rating has gone up. And he also has a shot at potentially putting his team into the Super Bowl for the first time in over 3 decades. I'm sorry. I understand the Lamar hype, and I absolutely think that Lamar deserves it. I think Lamar is in the running without question. But think about this for a second. Joe Burrow has the highest touchdown to interception ratio, yet because he plays on a 6-8 a 7-8 Bengals team, and the defense can't get a stop, he's not even in the running. He's going to finish with the top 3 passing completion in the NFL. He's going to lead the NFL in passing touchdowns to interceptions. He's also going to finish with either number 1 or number 2 in passing yards. So why for 1 second should we not consider him? Oh, because of wins and losses. You're going to see a guy like Josh Allen because of where he is positioned and how he plays throughout the postseason. Whether or not that's fair, win the MVP. Because I do believe that the Bills are the team to beat in the AFC, and I do believe they will be hoisting up the AFC Championship and heading to New Orleans this year.
I don't think anyone's beating the Chiefs for what it's worth. I've given up picking against them, but I don't know, man. I just think the numbers are so drastic, and I think MVP moments matter. And what Allen did the other day on Christmas against the Texans, the defense.
You mean Jackson?
What Jackson did on Christmas in the game you were at against the Texans. I just think Lamar's earned it. I just think he's better. I think he's more valuable.
Yes, Gator. I know there's a cold sore on my lip. Thank you. Anyways, listen, I
love
herpes. Yeah, unfortunately, it is what we call love and appreciation from the wife. No, I don't know. Listen, I agree with you, but let's also call a spade a spade. Did Lamar deserve the MVP in 2023?
Who is his competition? Dak?
Probably.
Dak came in second that year. I think Lamar deserved it last year.
I think Dak should have gotten it last year. Sorry. I mean, that's just my personal belief. But again, you look at the records. That plays a factor into it. Whether or not I agree with it.
Okay, but the records, right? Look at the AFC East. The Dolphins stink. The Bills have 2 wins against the Dolphins. I think both games, Tua got hurt in one of them, and he didn't play in the other. They're playing the Jets this weekend. They're 10-point favorites almost. We know the Patriots suck. So, they beat up on a bad division too. The Ravens have a division where all the teams in it are good.
Yeah, but the Ravens also have wins over the Giants. They have a win over they have a loss to the Browns. They have a loss to the Steelers. They have a win over the Commanders. They have a win over the Buccaneers. They have a trouncing over the Broncos, who might be overrated. The Giants. They lost the Eagles. I mean, you can go ahead and go say the exact same thing, is that some of the wins that Lamar has is because of who he faced off against, and the numbers backed it up. So it's not like I'm going to sit here and act like, as much as I believe that Lamar doesn't deserve the MVP, because he does deserve the MVP, he didn't have the benefit of playing against some inferior teams, just like Josh Allen did, to boost up his numbers.
I'm Team Lamar, baby.
I'm Team Josh. I'm sorry. I've been Team Josh all year. I think that he has proven time and time again that this team is nowhere near close to where they would be without him. And by the way, Nick, my name is Cole Thompson. Get to fucking know it. Boom.
Damn, family show. What is this?
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Let's make some picks, shall we? Betting picks for Week 17 of the NFL season. Bet US if you want to bet on any of the games we're discussing. If you're new to the show, Cole and I each give out our 3 favorite picks against the spread. We keep track all season long. Cole, last week was a weird one for us.
Yeah.
I went 1-1-1.
How'd you go 1-1-1?
Because I pushed with Seattle.
That's right.
Pushed with Seattle. Very odd. And then, Cole, you won with the Rams.
I did.
You won with the Lions.
I did.
And you took an L with the Buccaneers.
I did.
So a 2-1 week for you, sir.
I'm still leading, though, right? Overall?
It's the overall standings. Cole Thompson, 26-19. Jake Asman, 24-20-1. So I have a push to deal with on the record now. It looks kind of odd, but that's the reality. So I'm 2 wins behind you. I'm 1 back in the loss column. So I'm not good at math, but we'll look at the percentages and figure it out. But you had a winning week regardless, so you can go first with your first game.
I always seem to pick either Sunday night or Monday Night Football. Let's continue the trend. The Detroit Lions feel like a team that guarantees itself a spot with the number 1 seed if they're able to get a win over the San Francisco 49ers. I get the game is going to be on the road, but San Francisco just put Trent Williams on the IR. I know the pass rush isn't as potent for Detroit without Aiden Hutchinson. They're still finding a way to get the job done. I like what they have with Jahmyr Gibbs getting more extensive reps carries. Ben Johnson's play calling, again, as an OC, I trust it. As a head coach, to be determined. I don't care about where the location is. I just think the Lions are a better team. Line is in favorable stuff. I absolutely love where Detroit is. I want them to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I'm going to believe that they get the job done with -3.5. Regardless, the Lions, they're the team to beat in the NFC.
How about this to start it off? Family play.
Yay.
That's one of my games too. I think the Niners are done. They're eliminated. It's just one of those years. Everyone got hurt. Lions need the game, trying to lock in the one stuff. Give me the Detroit Lions, laying the 3.5. I'm surprised it's not more. I get it. They got to go cross country. It's in San Fran, but what are the Niners playing for at this point? I think Detroit wins. The hook scares me a little bit, but I think they're going to be fine. I like the Lions here. So family play. We're both on the same game. Lions laying the 3.5 on Monday Night Football against San Fran.
I don't want to make this pick, but there's something about this team that just feels dangerous right now. They got to win on Monday Night Football. I think it carries the momentum over. I don't believe in the Minnesota Vikings. I want to believe in the Minnesota Vikings, but I can't. But I can believe in the Green Bay Packers. I do love their offense. I love their defense. They've been playing well without Jair Alexander. I don't care who the competition is against. They find a way to get the job done consistently. I believe that on the road, on the road at US Bank Stadium, it's a +1 line. I think they're going to win by a touchdown. Give me the Green Bay Packers. They advance. They guarantee themselves a better seeding in the NFC playoffs. I love this team. I think that Jordan Love has a big-time game, and Sam Darnold starts to show a little bit of those lulls right before the postseason. I absolutely think that this will be a game that we are talking about Green Bay in such a prominent light.
I thought about that game, but I'm not picking it. Game number 2 for me, I don't know. I faded the Vikings enough. I've been burnt every time, seemingly. Last week, at least, I got the push with Seattle. But I lean Green Bay if I were to make a pick on that game, but I'm not touching it. Game number 2 for me, I mean, unfortunately, my job requires me to watch this team, so I might as well have a reason to. Giants stink. Colts, 7.5-point favorites. There'll be 17 people in attendance at Giants Stadium, a.k.a. MetLife. 7.5 points. I mean, the Giants can't score. They've mailed it in. Colts, they're just going to go out there. If they score 14 points, they win. I mean, that's how pathetic the Giant offense is. There's going to be another plane apparently flying over MetLife before the game, demanding John Mara to clean house. It's going to get ugly. We're going to have legitimately like 100 people in the building. I mean, it's going to be empty. The forecast is supposed to be like rainy as well. Just brutal. Colts -7.5 against the Giants, game number 2.
So you and I think we're going to have a second family play for a third pick. I don't want to do that. I want to have at least a little bit of fun with this. I got to pick a Saturday game. I can't think that underneath a new regime, underneath a brand new head coach in Jim Harbaugh, with a quarterback that still is being completely thrown to the wayside, not getting the respect that he deserves. And in a game where you don't know if you're going to have J.K. Dobbins and you don't know if you're going to have Gus Edwards. In fact, Gus Edwards has been rolled out, but you need a win to guarantee your spot in the playoffs. I have to believe that times are changing for the Los Angeles Chargers. I have to believe that this won't be the same story, new coach, different outcome. It has to be different this year. I'm taking the Chargers. I think that they're going to win on the road. I get that it's going to be a frigid temperature. I know it's 4.5 points, but I can't help myself. I got to believe that Justin Herbert is going to the playoffs. I have to believe this team is going to be built different this year. And I believe that they are the dark horse in the AFC postseason picture. It pains me, but give me the Chargers at -4.5. Please, for the love of God, don't shoot me in the foot. Please, football gods.
I think you're going to be okay, but I'm not picking this game.
I know.
The Chargers could always Charger. You know it. I know it. We all know it. They'll win, but the 4.5 on the road, cross country, short week, it scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. It scares me a little bit.
It scares me a little bit.
I'm not touching it. I think the Chargers will win. Can't you see this game being like a game they have to like steal at the end with like a late kick or something?
Oh, it's gonna be Cameron Dicker, the kicker, drilling like a 57-yarder as time expires, and it just missed the line. Just like last night, where it was a 3.5 point spread and it just ended at 3.
Well, Cole, I'll tell you what. If you're picking a Saturday game, I'm picking a Saturday game. Game number 3, my last pick, Cardinals at the Rams. Sean McVay in December. The man wins. The man covers. Rams stay hot. Cardinals are officially eliminated, so they're playing for nothing. What's their motivation for this one? Rams at home. I will lay. It's a big number, but I'll lay the 6.5. I think they win by at least a touchdown. They get the 10-6. Rams, my final pick over the Cardinals, laying the 6.5 points.
So we're both taking a Los Angeles team, which is really funny because if I also would have handcuffed myself and done the family play with the Rams, I didn't want to do that. I want to be living on the edge a little bit. I got some collateral having a 2-point lead over you right now. So I feel good, but I just have this gut feeling now. I said the Chargers were going to be different. I don't think it's
2, by the way. I don't have the percentages, but 24, 20-1 versus 26 and 19.
Also, I may have a little bit closer.
I don't know. I have to look at winning percentages now because this push is throwing everything off of the records.
Yeah. I'm
keeping track of all the standings here.
I think I'm doing pretty good, but still, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, I watch the Chargers be the Chargers. I can promise you. Like this is the scary part. It's going to happen. The last 2 games they're going to lose and they're going to be left out. And Denver's going to go and Cincinnati's going to go to the playoffs. Just watch it happen. Because again, think about it. If Cincinnati wins this weekend and they win out, and Denver plays next week and they beat the Chiefs.
Did you see who Denver's playing?
The Chiefs next week.
So the Chiefs. The Chiefs
aren't starting anybody.
Right. So Denver's going to win that game next week.
That's what I'm saying.
If they lose tomorrow, they're still going to win.
But what's going to happen? What I'm saying is, what's going to happen is that the Chargers are going to choke away a playoff spot by losing their last 2 games, as is tradition for Los Angeles.
No, not this year.
It can't happen. It can't happen, right? Like it can't. We can't not have Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert in the playoffs at the same time. At least one has to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, just a recap here. Cardinals at Rams. I like Rams minus 6.5. I like the Colts minus 7.5 at the Giants. I like the Lions on Monday night minus 3.5 at the Niners. Cole's on the Chargers tomorrow minus 4.5 at New England. He likes the Packers minus 1.5 at the Vikings. And as you heard him say, family play. We're both on that Lion minus 3.5 at the Niners on Monday night. So Cole, another week in the books here on the Jake Asman Football Show. Enjoy 3 games tomorrow, a full Sunday slate, Monday Night Football. We got college football playoffs coming up as well, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I mean, it's a football orgy happening right now.
Yeah, definitely not the word I would use to close out 2024, but sure.
I was just trying to relate to your lip or whatever you have over there.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, because I got this at an orgy, a football orgy, especially. Yeah. That's where it happened. Naturally. Of course you did. I mean, Jake, you missed out on some fun. You missed out on the debauchery.
Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. He's Cole Thompson. Check out his content on his YouTube channel. Follow him on social media. Cole, appreciate you as always. Thank you to the audience. Happy holidays. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. Happy New Year. Cole and I will be back next week for the first show in 2025. How about that?
Peace out, 2024. I don't miss you at all. I will not miss you in the slightest.
What a year it's been. He's Cole. I'm Jake. Once again, shout out to BetUS. If you want to bet on any of the games we just discussed, all the lines we mentioned were from the sportsbook over at BetUS. So check them out. And we thank them again for sponsoring the Jake Asman Football Show. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Once again, he's Cole Thompson. My name is Jake Asman saying, and that's all, folks. We'll talk to you next time.